Hi, my name is Lucy. I live in Peru and I'm also Peruvian. And for this video, I wanted to talk about the traditional medicine here in Peru because each year many foreign people come here mostly looking for spiritual healing and mental healing. So, I'm gonna talk about this kind of traditional medicine used for that, but I'm also gonna talk about the other kind of medicine that is common here around the country and that is more like normal because it doesn't have side effects and it's not psychedelic at all as the other medicine used in rituals for the spiritual. I'm gonna talk about the good about this topic, but I also gonna talk about the things that you should take care with so you don't have bad experiences if you come to Peru looking for this medicine. I'm not an expert on this topic. I didn't try any of these medicine the medicine to heal like the mind of the spirit, but I got to get close to people who had all these experiences because 3 or 2 years ago I had virtual classes and I had the opportunity to explore my country because the classes were virtual. So I went to Iquitos for 3 months and I was working in a store. There was a store that sell handmade art, handmade traditional art, and the owner of the store was a shaman, and I didn't talk too much with him, but I get got to talk a little bit. He did had that store, but he also had other place where he offered his services as a shaman, so he also invited the tourists to go to that healing center. And I also talk to foreign people, and most of the people who come here to Peru seeking for that help, they are Europeans or North America. And yeah, I had the experience to talk to them. I'll talk a little more about this in the video. First, I will explain a little bit what is traditional medicine. Well, traditional medicine, it has its roots in the pre-Columbian culture. That is a knowledge that passed from different generations orally. This is an indigenous ancient knowledge. And here is more famous in the Amazon of Peru because and for these rituals that people come seeking, they use plants that are mostly, how can I say that are psychedelic, and these plants grow in the Amazon. So the shamans or the ayahuasqueros or the healers, they use these plants combined with other rituals to help people spiritually and mentally, and also to desintoxicate the body. Yeah, and most of the people come here looking for the ayahuasca. There are many other plants used in these rituals, but the ayahuasca is the most common. They use like ayahuasca and San Pedro. There is a similar plant, but and San Pedro has less side effects. I explain a little bit about what the ayahuasca is for the people who doesn't know. In this part of the video, I said some things that were not accurate, so I'm gonna explain this better with a voiceover. Ayahuasca is a vine that is mixed with other plants to make a powerful ceremonial drink. And people consume it in these rituals that are guided by the shamans always. So you cannot just buy ayahuasca and drink it by yourself. They use it to heal like mental traumas or to desintoxicate the body and also to heal from addictions. The ayahuasca grows here in the Amazon of Peru, but also in other countries like Brazil or Colombia. In Colombia, it's known as yahe, but in other countries, the use of ayahuasca is more regulated by the government. In I think that in European countries is mostly forbidden. So here the government doesn't regulate the use of ayahuasca. It doesn't have restrictions here. That's why the foreign people come here to have these healing experiences without legal problems. I already said like the good side of this, that is the mental healing and spiritual healing. And it was very interesting to me to hear about this, because people were telling me about their experiences, and they said like, oh, when I had this ritual with ayahuasca, I could see my past, because well, that is a psychedelic plant, where so they have like hallucinations, and some people can see animals and they see their lives. Or if they had they say that if they had traumas in the past, they start um, seeing those traumas in a different way. And I've heard that ayahuasca produces vomit. Well, they during the ayahuasca they have all these visions and feelings and experiences. And then they vomit the ayahuasca. When they vomit, they get to normal. And I've also heard that they have to do like a diet, and they don't eat meat, like they don't eat pork, they don't do certain activities that, how can I say, that pollutes the soul and things like that. They have like they do these retreats where they follow a diet guided by the shaman, so their body purifies. And when their body is purified, they drink the ayahuasca, and they have all these healing experiences. And also the shaman start singing traditional chantings and doing using tobacco. Before continuing to the video, I wanted to show these photos. These photos are from the time when I was in Iquitos working for that store that I've mentioned before. These are paintings that were inspired in ayahuasca visions or during ayahuasca journeys. These kind of artists are called visionary artist or Amazonian visionary artist. I show you this because I think that this could be very interesting to you as it was interesting to me. Yeah, I don't know if I am describing this the right way. I am just trying to remember what they told me about these retreats. They do them in a place called Malocas. So they are reunite from like 5 to 10 people, and so they sleep there. And also because of this can be dangerous, because there are also many fake shamans, and there are people who have no indigenous knowledge. They don't know the indigenous tradition. They don't have ethics. So there are real shamans that have all this knowledge that has been passed from generation through generation, as I said before. But there are also these fake shamans. They just want to earn money, and they scam people. um they can dress like with traditional clothes, they take pictures, they promote themselves in websites or in Facebook, so people contact them. They ask for high prices, or their services are really expensive. Then the people go there to their retreats and they have any result. Or they don't know how to mix the plants, because they have no knowledge. They can intoxicate people, or people can die because of this, because those plants are very strong, and if they use the grown doses, that is very dangerous. There are also there have been many cases of abuse that have been reported, that these shamans, I don't know how to say, well, when you do these retreats, your body and your mind is vulnerable, especially because you are consuming these psychedelic plants, and this, or if they don't give you psychedelic plants, they can give you other kind of things, so you are in a vulnerable state, and they can abuse you. And well, their report said that women were abused and they didn't realize until when they well recovered their conscious, until they were like awake, they discovered signs of abuse in their bodies. So this is the reason why it's dangerous. I've heard there is a police for visitors in Peru, so you can report this, uh, any kind of um, wrong thing or any kind of abuse that happens to you if you are a tourist in Peru. But in those, for these cases, um, it's mostly difficult for people to report because they do these rituals in places that are far away, so you don't have like, I don't know how to say that. I don't remember the word for that in English, but it's like anybody sees the abuse, so you don't have people to be at your back to help you with that. And as I said before, it's, well, culturally maybe can be good that the use of ayahuasca and these plants is not, it doesn't have much restrictions here. It can be it can be kind of good because that's why people come here, but it also needs more regulations. The shamans need to be regulated. um I don't think that it has to be totally restricted, because it's actually something called as ancestral knowledge and here, and it's very respected, but I think it has to be like more regulated in the country, especially the shamans. Maybe the there should be more ways to report these um fake centers of healing. Yeah. So you should inform, get better informed. If you come here, you should um, take a lot of care and try to find a actual um, good and real shaman if you are looking for this. And it's actually difficult because if you come here to the Amazon of Peru, you'll find too many shamans, too many people offering those services. But the real shamans, they are very few. Yeah. And well, yeah, you lose your money because there are also people offering the services and showing pictures of the places, and then you go to those places and the places doesn't exist, and or you should get intoxicated by a wrong mixture of these plants. And yeah, and I know that there are many people who trust this, everything that sounds natural or traditional, but there are real people and there are bad intentions. But yeah, it's a very interesting. I have never tried these rituals or these plants because i'm I am a little afraid of these. And but yeah, I know that there are many people who come here, especially because there is a crisis and of spirituality in the world. I'm not talking about this indigenous spirituality, but I'm talking about spirituality in general. Well, in my case, I'm a Christian, and that is what helps me a lot. And for the plants, I also know that God created the plants, so the plants, He created plants in nature, so it can be good. But there is a crisis of spirituality in the world, so people have most many problems with depression and anxiety. I've talked to many people who come here because of this. They say, I've been depressed for like so many years, or I suffer from anxiety, and they look for this alternative medicine to get healed from that. I knew people who not just come through Peru, but they travel to Brazil, to India, and too many places looking for that healing. And there is not just few people, because we used to think that, oh, it's people who doesn't find peace, it's just a few people, but no, it's many people. And something that caught my attention was that the foreign friends that I made there, they actually knew more than me about these plants and the places and the shamans, because they are very involved um, with that world. And yeah, uh, oh, there is also another problem that we have with this, and it's not just the scams or the intoxications and the that these that the bad practices could produce, but also there is the how do how can I say that the foreign appropriation, not no it, that is not a name, but it's I'm gonna put here the name in the screen, but it's the appropriation of these practices, because there are some foreign people who come here, and they try to have to make that as a business without knowing the rituals, and without knowing the procedures, and without having experience. And they promote the plants just as a psychedelic plants, and not as something that is has to be made with rituals and that is for healing. They um, use these plants for like recreative plants, um, yeah, or they just want to do business. And that is, yeah, I also saw that some foreign people, I don't know what country they were from, and they bought lands here in Peru because they wanted to grow these kind of plants and have a big business. Most of those people come from countries where, well, they come here with money, and they want to buy lands to um, start a big business with that in Peru, and they don't have the actual knowledge to work with the land and to be respectful with this and with the traditions and the people. And yeah, I don't think this is good. And I saw that they had like indigenous workers. They were foreign people who were the owners of both these Peruvian lands, and they had indigenous workers, and they didn't treat them in the right way. There are, as I said before, there are um, well, actually, there is people with not ethics everywhere, and also is good people everywhere. I experienced that. Um, yeah, that is what I wanted to say about this. So now I'm gonna talk the other kind of plants that is very interesting, and that is also important in my country.